All right, welcome back to my Darling Bride podcast, powered by Refuge and Fortress Network. My name is Emmanuel O.
And I'm Lonnie O.
On this podcast, we dig, discover, and deploy biblical gems for the building or rebuilding of kingdom homes and relationships.
Yes, we are on a mission, y'all, to equip one another, equip couples to build on a rock solid foundation. Cultivate a culture of honor and respect for each other. Invest intentionally and consistently
Yep.
in your marriage or in your relationship. Always defend your union. And lastly, empower one another to build and to work towards purpose fulfillment.
I'm telling you, and this is, to me, I say this is where love meets legacy. On my Darling Bride podcast is where love meets legacy, because we are equipping you to bride. Amen. All right, let's get. All right, so this week we are talking about, first of all, before we go into this week, man, can I just say y'all have been great and wonderful.
Yes.
The ones who gave us feedback and who said, man, I'm glad y'all said what y'all said because it really helped me. Awesome. Please,
Comments,
please
feedbacks.
let me know if you are being blessed by these messages, these teachings, these discussions, these conversations that we are having. I know we are blessed. I want to make sure that everybody else is blessed as well. So comments if you haven't, subscribe if you haven't, like and share if you haven't, right? Like we said, the mission here is to equip couples to bride, build on the rock solid foundation, culture of honor and respect are, right? Invest in your marriage and in your relationship. Defend your union, because that is very important. That is a spiritual thing right there. And then you're empowering one another towards purpose fulfillment. On this week, again, we are in a new series in the month of May. It's called Marriage Unfiltered. Marriage Unfiltered. And last week we talked about love languages and communication, right? And we talked about the multiple different types of love languages that people usually have in their marriage and in their relationship. This week, though, we're talking about expectations. We're talking about expectations versus reality.
Yes.
What we expected and
what became.
Right?
Because it's what really happened.
Exactly.
Right?
So expectations and realities is what we're talking about today. And the reason why we're talking about that is because we realize that a lot of people go into marriage with flawed expectations. And let me be one of the first to say that there is nothing wrong with having expectations. There are people who actually believe if you don't have expectations, you can't be disappointed. And I understand that, right? But whether you say it or not, whether you like it or not, there is an expectation.
It's a level of expectation.
There is a level of expectation because, again, this person is not just any regular person to you. This is your spouse. This is the mother of your kids, the father of your kids. And, this is the person who shares a room with you, who sleeps in the same house. You guys are doing life together, right? And if you can have expectations of your friends, you can definitely have expectation of your spouse.
Absolutely.
There are certain things you expect them to do and certain things you expect them not to ever do. You follow what I'm saying? So, but when it comes to marriage, for most people going into it and most people who are in marriage right now, there's this shock factor that hits them, whether in the beginning, the middle, or somewhere in between of their marriage and relationship. And it's almost like, what was your expectation? What was your expectation going into marriage, and what did you think was going to happen? You know what I mean?
And it's crazy because a lot of times you see a lot of marriages that kind of go through that storm, and sometimes it breaks them. And it's because expectations were not met. And it's because maybe the expectations was just too high. It's because maybe they just had expectations that weren't real or wasn't really
properly
reality, or weren't properly communicated, or weren't properly placed. Like, it just happens to be, and then they kind of just bucket down to irreconcilable differences. They kind of just put into the box like we just couldn't figure it out, when it's just a matter of, man, you just have to manage your expectations. So a lot of marriages and relationships kind of suffer from knowing how to deal with expectations they have for each other. And that's pretty much what we're diving in today.
Yeah, we're talking about not just expectations for each other, we're talking about expectations for marriage as well. For the institution of marriage, exactly. Right?
Yeah.
There's individual expectations that we have for one another. And then there is the expectation that we both have for marriage.
Yeah.
Because sometimes,
whether it was you or not, whether it was me or not, it was just, this is what I see for marriage. This is my understanding. This is what I expected a marriage should look like.
Yeah. Or perhaps when we were dating, we had an idea of what we thought marriage was going to be.
Yeah.
And so in our mind and in times of conversation, we've designed the ideal marriage, what a typical marriage should look like in the dating phase of our relationship. But upon actually being married, not only was either one person shocked, we were both shocked.
Yeah.
Because again, our collective and individual expectations of marriage before getting into marriage was reality set in.
And the thing about it is, a lot of times, especially when it comes to things like marriage, our expectations are kind of formed based on what we grew up on, or the things we surrounded ourselves with,
on TV.
What we saw on TV, like things that we just kind of saw and believed this is how it should be. And sometimes that's not the reality. And sometimes that's not necessarily biblically what it's supposed to be either. You understand what I'm saying? Because a lot of times you find that depending on who it is or where the person comes from, culture has a big part in playing on what marriage should look like. So sometimes your expectations are formed based on that. And you kind of find yourself in a way of, okay, wait, this is what I expected, but this is not what I'm getting. And it could be good and it could be bad. It could go either way. You know what I'm saying? So the first thing really that we wanted to kind of address is, or discuss, is what expectations did you have going into marriage?
What expectations did I have going into marriage?
Yeah. You can name one or two.
So let me start by saying this, right? For me, when it came to marriage, I had an understanding that marriage for me was and is final.
Yes.
There's no plan B. There's no if this doesn't work, I'm gonna move on to somebody. No. Marriage is for me a covenant that you can't break out of.
Yeah.
I have that understanding. You know what I mean? And it was important for me to find somebody who also shared in that understanding.
Yes.
And not just by saying it, that you believe, oh yeah, I'm like that too. I believe that too. My parents, they've been together for 1,000 years and whatever. No. Are you actually about it?
Yes.
Or you just talk about it? Right? Is this really your beliefs?
Yeah.
Or are you just saying whatever you think I need to hear, right? Because again, when we get into the thing and we find out that it's not as rosy and dandy and glamorous as we thought it was, are you out the door, or what's really going on here, right? So it was very important for me to know that you actually not only shared in that mentality, you believed in that with me. So that was number one. And number two, when it came to expectations, honestly, I don't really know what my expectation was. I guess I would say that, when I was at that time dating around and things like that, there were women that I didn't pursue serious relationship with because I felt that they were perfect girlfriends, but wouldn't make perfect wives. Okay. And that kind of tells you my idea of what a marriage should look like.
Yeah.
And whether or not this person was going to meet that, if this person was going to meet the expectation of what a marriage is supposed to look like, and a part of that, like you mentioned earlier, was culture. I had been dating people of other cultures and other races and things like that. And while you can kind of work it out and communicate and all kinds of stuff, it was hard and difficult to get some things across because, again, we're not coming from the same school of thought. We're not coming from the same background. We're not coming from the same culture. So the things that I have to explain, I have to first explain myself,
right,
and then make
before
sure
you
that it
can
makes sense to
understand it.
you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
So extra work.
it was just too much, you know.
Yeah.
So again, my expectation of marriage was well, I didn't have an expectation. I just know that marriage is final and it's got to be done with the right person. And whatever happens when we get in there, we will figure it out.
Okay.
But I needed to be with somebody who was willing to figure it out
Right.
as we go.
Right.
Because I believe in change.
Yeah.
I believe people change. I believe situations happen. I believe we have to adapt. I believe we have to adjust, whatever the case may be, right? I believe we have to flow with the time and the seasons that we find ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody who's not willing to do that, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Because the moment something doesn't happen the way you've always expected it or you've always wanted it, you think there's a problem. No, we've changed, baby.
Yeah.
And there's no problem. It's
Yeah.
just we're moving forward.
We've changed.
We're evolving. We're having higher standards. We're having bigger expectations for one another. The requirements are changing. You know, I'm pushing you to go to the gym now. Before, maybe I didn't say anything. Now I'm saying let's do it, right? I'm telling you we got to cut down on shopping, right? So we can save up here and there. Again, if you're used to the splurging and then I come to you and I say, hey, let's save, you may have a problem with that. But because we have to save in this season, I need somebody who understands
that. Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying? So
yeah, on the same page with you.
Right. So that was kind of my expectation of marriage. And because again, I wasn't
having a partner that's on the same page with you.
Yeah, because I wasn't one who saw a specific marriage and said, I want my marriage to look like that.
Right.
Because I know everybody's situation is different. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, so I was willing to build as we go.
Okay.
To figure it out as we go.
Yeah.
As long as I have somebody who was willing to figure it out with me, then I feel like I'm good. Of course, and as long as I have God, everything else will figure itself out.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thing. What was your expectation?
You know, for me it's interesting because it's in a way like, okay, I've seen pictures of what different marriages look like.
Okay.
Growing up. And I've had, you can say, influences of that caliber in my head that kind of painted to me, this is what marriage should look like. You know, my parents, you know, my family, you know, the people around me, you know, my pastors, like both in Nigeria and here. So I've seen what marriage looks like, right? And for me, I guess the way I kind of formed my expectation was by picking and choosing what I wanted and what I didn't want.
Okay.
And going into marriage, I kind of went into it like, okay, there's an aspect of biblical and cultural influence where it's like, okay, I know that going into marriage as a wife, I have to submit, right? That's not a problem for me. I just need a man I can submit to, right? I just need to make sure that whoever my husband is somebody that's worth submitting to, if that makes sense. And that wasn't a problem for me. But, you know, in a picture, in that world where you see what submission is, sometimes it can be translated as something else, right? Where it's like, okay, submission could be, you know, he's the head of the family, you're the wife, so you kind of just leave things for him to make the decision and that's it, and we just go about it. Like you just focus on the children kind of thing. This is your roles, focus on those roles and do that. That was the way it was pictured, right?
Okay.
So my understanding in that was, okay, so maybe this is what marriage is supposed to be like.
Gotcha.
But then I met my partner and getting to know each other, getting to know who we are, understanding each other's values, getting married. And it's almost like the aspect of, obviously, the biblical standpoint of, you know, he's the head of the family, you know, he's just as Christ is the head of the church.
Yep.
That stands and never changed. But it's never like there's partnership, even in that structure. You never see that when you're looking in that world. Do you understand what I'm saying? You never see that partnership show up. All you see is the structure. So coming into marriage and having that partnership, even in that structure, to me was like, it changed my expectation in a way, if that makes sense. Because my expectation was, okay, this is the structure and this is how it should be. And you know, I'm a God follower. I'm a kingdom person. Whatever God says we do, we do. So I didn't have a problem with that. But my expectation was, this is just how it's supposed to be. It's the head of the family. You're the wife. You take care of your home. You make sure everything is good. You know, you just make sure your home is good. But then there's partnership there too. So for me, it's almost like my expectation evolved the more that I understood and the more that I got to know the kind of person I really wanted to be with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for me, what I wanted and expected in a marriage was more than what I just saw growing up, seeing around me. It evolved the minute I met you. It became, okay, I want the structure, but I want partnership. So going into marriage, that's what I expected to see. I expected to see somebody that if I'm tired, I have somebody to help pull me up. You know, it's not, okay, get to it when you can. It's, okay, I got you. I'll cover you where you can cover, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So that was my expectation as I got older, I got closer to marriage. And it was like, okay, this is what marriage, to me, is supposed to look like.
Gotcha.
So going into marriage, I want a partner. He's the head of the family, no doubt, no question about that, because God requires me to have that understanding. That's not a problem. But even in that structure, in that home, there's still partnership. So my expectation was, I want somebody that would partner with me. I want somebody that would join hands with me, walk this walk with me. You know, it's not a matter of, you do you, I do me. This is my responsibility this year. No, we're really literally partners in everything.
So you had an expectation based on what you've always seen, but then after meeting me, your expectations changed.
Right.
And now it's almost like you kind of change what you saw what marriage could look like,
right,
from our dating
exactly.
stage and to marriage,
yeah,
and that became now your new expectation.
Correct.
Okay, got you.
So it's like it kind of changed my understanding
of
what marriage should
look
and
like.
You know, obviously, as you get closer to God and you get to know God and you go deeper in your relationship with God, you understand more things even better than how you were thought. You understand what I'm saying? So that shaped me into even understanding, like, okay, having it this way actually makes sense. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't negate the other way either. In fact, it makes it even more beautiful. So it's kind of like, just for me, my expectation was, I'm going into this marriage, I'm ready to yield and submit as a wife, as is required of me, and I do that every day. At the same time, I want a man that's gonna be the man of the house, be the head of the house. And this has nothing to do with who brings what to the table. This is just biblically what is required of each other, right? So I don't have a problem with that. But at the same time, even in that structure, I want somebody that I can actually partner with, where we talk things out, we discuss things, and we come to conclusion and decisions about it. There might be some times where it's like, all right, this is what I think. You could be like, you know what? Honestly, we're not agreeing on this, but this is where I think we should go. So let's go with it. And I yield because that's what I'm supposed to do, and it makes sense to me, and I don't have a problem with that. But we also have a partnership where we lift each other up. It's not a thing where it's like, you do you, I do. Exactly. Like, we help each other, we partner with each other. And that was the closer we got to marriage, that was what my expectation was. You understand? So it's interesting because you have to truly understand, and this is something you have to think about too, because it shapes the kind of mentality you go into marriage with, right? Because when you understand what it is, what am I looking for in this marriage? What do I want this marriage to look like? It shapes the kind of person you look for too. It shapes the kind of person you entertain when you have conversations of who you're trying to potentially date with a purpose, because now you're looking for somebody that has the same mentality, that has the same values, that has the same, understanding. So it's interesting.
Now, somebody can say, well, should I have expectations going into marriage, or should I just go with the flow like PY did? What I would say to you is this. When you are with the right person, expectations are not hard to meet. In fact, you exceed expectations almost all the time because you are with the right person. And part of knowing that you are with the right person is somebody who is willing to adjust and readjust and keep readjusting until the perfect day.
Yeah.
Right? And that never comes. Right? That's the the perfect day is the day where Jesus returns, right? Yeah. But there's constant improvement, constant getting better, constant readjustment.
Yes.
When you have somebody like that makes life easier. At that point, it doesn't matter what your expectations are. So should you have expectations? Yes, you should. But I will balance it and say this, that you got to manage your expectations as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are expectations that are just like, what are you doing? What kind of
to what end?
Right. To what end is this particular expectation? Who do you think is going to meet these expectations, right? And actually be happy meeting them. There are some expectations that are just out of this world, right? And the reason why I say to manage your expectation, for example, is this. Let's use one of the most shallow expectations possible, which is money, right? People have this financial expectations. Oh, I expect my husband to take care of me. I expect me not to work.
Right.
I expect my man to make a certain amount of money. I expect him to A, B, C, and D. Again, ain't nothing wrong with those expectations, but again, manage them in the sense that, number one, you cannot have those kind of expectation with somebody who is not currently at that level.
Yeah.
So don't expect, for example, if your man can only afford public transportation, for example, he can only take the bus and the train. But here you are expecting him to have a car, but not just any car. He's got to have a Maybach. Make it make sense, right? What kind of there are men who can meet that expectation, but this particular man
can't do that
right now.
So having that expectation,
and so manage that expectation so that you are not what they call disappointed. But really, it's not disappointed. It's just unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
Given your current situation. Now, tomorrow can come, the man becomes a multi-millionaire.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. You want to ask him to get you a Maybach, 2 Maybachs even. That's perfectly fine, but that means he's at the level where he can do that. But the question you should ask yourself is, are you willing to stay with the man, whether he has a Maybach or not?
Yeah.
Are you willing to stay with the man, whether he's driving a Bentley or a Binto? Yeah. For those who know what a Binto is, right? Are you willing to be with a man who today was walking on the street and was homeless and or was just not homeless, but he was hustling and he was bed hopping and sleeping with at his friend's spot and hustling and building up his business, and then tomorrow he's buying the whole block. But the question is, are you that kind of person who is willing to stay with that kind of guy at any point in his life? And even if you met somebody who is able to afford a Bentley and the Maybachs and the Lamborghini today, if he falls tomorrow and the finances run dry and he has to build all over again, are you still gonna be there or are you gonna be out? You gotta really ask yourself, and this is where management of expectation comes in, because yes, it's okay for us to have expectations, but at the same time, are we able to manage those expectations? That's why I was saying I didn't really have a specific expectation going into marriage, because I was of the mindset that whatever comes our way with God on our side and with understanding of each other, we can figure it out as we go. And so if there are things you're doing that is not pleasing unto me, I can say, hey, we got to fix this. We got to do that. If there are things that I'm doing that is not pleasing unto you, I expect you to come to me and say, babe, you're not, I want this, I want that. I want you to do this to me this way. I want you to do that for me, blah, blah. And again, if it's in my power, I'll do it. If it's in your power, you do it. But we are willing to do these things for one another, to be better for one another, and for our marriage in general to be better for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I believe that is the thing when it comes to us, right? Particularly us personally in our marriage. A lot of people look up to our marriage, look up to us, look up to our relationship. We've heard people say it. It's not new. When I get married, I want to marry like you guys' marriage, right? And again, what you see online is what you see in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you follow what I'm saying? But I really think that one of the secrets of our success in our marriage, in our relationship, being together 14 years, is because we are people who are willing to develop, to change, to adapt, to be better for one another. Well, and it's a continuous, constant thing that we're willing to do for one another. That is one of the, in fact, maybe one of the secrets, I should say. There are others, of course, but that is one of the secrets of what we enjoy in our marriage. A lot of people hate changes. And that really, really irks me, because life is the only constant thing in life is change.
And it's very important to be able to adapt and be able to evolve, because you realize too, as you grow and get older and life changes happen, you kind of have to. You can't stay the same person you were 10 years ago. You kind of have to evolve and be better and grow as you get older.
As life demands.
That then changes, that you would then find that some things change in you. Some things change in your desires. Some things change in what you seem to have maybe a couple years ago I felt like was important. All of a sudden it's not important anymore. So you have to learn to be adaptable. You have to learn to, to change.
Adaptability, flexibility, important.
I would say, okay, so what has surprised us the most? What has surprised us the most once we got married? What is one thing that surprised you the most?
About one another or about marriage?
About one. We could say both. One another and marriage. Oh, you can say marriage. Let's say marriage.
What has surprised me the most about marriage? It
was think about it,
you can tell I just came back from Nigeria, right? To be quite honest, I would say the one thing that has surprised me the most about marriage is the work that it takes to maintain a good marriage.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work.
I second that. That's my answer too.
It's a lot of work personally. It's a lot of work
together.
Collectively. It's a lot of work. And it's work you got to do if you want to enjoy your home.
Yeah.
If you want to enjoy your marriage, you've really got to put in the work. So, and again, we don't mind putting in the work. It's just, it was a shocker for me to see that it really takes this much.
Yeah.
It takes this much to be faithful. It takes this much to be kind to one another. It takes this much to understand and break it down. And you've got to have a different level of communication skills. You've got, I mean, whatever you thought you knew, just throw it out the window and just start all over, right? It takes a lot of work to put the infrastructure in place. And then the system, and then to begin to really enjoy it, right? It takes a lot of work to make the crooked path to be straight. It takes a lot of work, because if you're not willing to do the work, you will give up before you enjoy the fruits. And there is a word that I always tell people, whether you're starting a business, you're moving to a new place, starting a marriage relationship, a job, a school, whatever it is you got going on, right? It was a word that I got a long time ago from God, and it's a word that I share with people as well. Don't uproot before you bear fruit. Don't uproot before you bear fruit. Don't uproot before you bear fruit. Because once you're rooting and you're planting and you're going deeper and deeper and deeper, because of growing pains, you might want to uproot and just throw in the towel and say, I'm done. Right? But then the fruit is coming. It's coming if you just wait.
Patience.
If you just wait, if you're patient enough to see the work that you've put into it, you actually yield results and fruit, you will enjoy those fruit, right? So what we enjoy today and we're enjoying and still enjoying is years of tears and hard work and fighting and bickering and arguing and not saying eye to eye and just not being on the same page, not understanding each other. We've got personal things going on, and then life is happening, that is nobody's fault or anything like that, but it's life, and you've got to deal with it together, right? It's just a whole lot going on that if you give up too soon, you're not going to see what's going on today. You're not going to enjoy the fruits that we are enjoying today. You follow what I'm saying? So I would say that it was a shocking thing for me to see that this is the work that it takes. The fact that it takes work in general. Like, you would think that the moment I have the right person, the moment I'm with the right person, the right culture, I mean, everything is good.
You checked all the boxes.
Dotted my I's and crossed my T's. Like, I believe everything should just be good and rosy. But no, that's when you really got to put in the work.
And it's crazy. I 100%, I would say it's the same thing. I definitely agree with you. And that's my answer too. Because, when you, like you just said, when you're deciding who it is you want to spend the rest of your life with, you're checking boxes, you're looking down the list, you're making sure, okay, this aligns, okay, this matches, okay, this is right. Like you said, we're from the same culture, it's easy, there's no language barrier.
On paper it makes sense,
there's no confusion. We have the same culture, we believe in God, we're from the same religion, like all those things kind of align together. So it really shouldn't be that complicated or that hard, they really should be, it should be smooth sailing. Like, we're from the same place, we have the same understanding, we like each other a lot, like things should just just go. It should just be
boom boom
boom boom boom, let's
plug
go
and play,
and then boom, and it's like, nah, nope, because what you have to understand is, at the end of the day, you're still two individuals becoming one. And you're gonna have differences, you're gonna have things that you don't agree on, you're gonna understand that. And another thing that happens is, a lot of people make this mistake of thinking they're perfect, or they got it all figured out. And you know what? I would say I can put myself in that box and say I used to be one of those people thinking like, I kind of like, I'm a good person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a good person. I show love. You know what I'm saying? I give kindness. I spread love. I'm a very friendly person. I truly believe in God. I follow the things that God, to the best of my ability, God wants us to do. I was raised well. I got the training. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it should be easy. Like, there's no confusion. It's like, I could submit. I don't have a problem submitting. I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian.
I pray. I read the Bible.
And then you realize there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Because and it's interesting, because even years into the marriage, you sit down and you have to reevaluate, and you have to be like, it's like making a food. You cooking it up, and you're like, ooh, this food about to be banging. And then I serve it up, and you're like, it was like, I'm sorry. I just put my best work to my understanding.
Right.
I just put my best work. I put my foot in it. And you're just like, okay.
Your food tastes nasty.
Why? Because it's not about me. That's me. It tastes good to me, but it's not me I'm making it for. It's for you. Does it taste good to you? A lot of people have to get out of their mind when it comes to that. When it comes to marriage, it's not about you anymore. It's about your partner. It's about each other. So it's not a you thing where it's like, oh, you got it all figured. No, you could be perfect in your own eyes, but are you perfect in his eyes? Vice versa. many times I would think, man, I got this down packed. Like, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. And he's like, well, you kind of a little bit need to work on this. But I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And that really comes from a place of thinking you got it all figured out. But you don't. You don't. So you have to understand that it does take work.
It does.
It does take work. It does take intentionality, putting your best foot forward, and really doing everything you can to be the best version for each other.
And let me say this, you know, when we were dating, we dated with a purpose.
Yeah.
And that meant that there was a point in our dating phase where we thought to ourselves that, you know, we've been dating for some time. We dated for about 6 years before we got married, right? We've been dating for some time. To be quite honest, this marriage is just formalities.
Exactly.
It's just
it feels like we've been married.
It feels like we've been married. Boy, were we wrong.
Wrong.
Dating, no matter how long you've been dating for, versus being married is two different things. Because in your dating phase, you piss me off, just go home. Or I can just go home.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, I can take a trip with my boys and I never have to see you again for another week or so.
I can walk away.
We can walk away.
I'm not doing it anymore.
Plus, we're really in an extended honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
Where we're dating, we're going out to eat, we're watching movies, we're finding things to do together. We don't necessarily live together, right? But when you get married, man, when marriage is in view, it's a whole different ball game altogether. It exposes everything, and it just helps you to understand that whatever you thought you knew, you really don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever you thought was the case about marriage, you're wrong. And whatever you thought was the case about marriage with this particular individual, you are also wrong. Because again, we become different people per position. Can I say that again? We become different people per position, because with every position comes its own personal or particular demands.
Yes.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when you were my girlfriend, you had
certain demands.
You know what I'm saying? Certain demands of a girlfriend. And the moment you became a wife, the demands, the responsibilities, you know, changed.
Yeah.
The moment you became a mother, that changed as well.
Yeah.
The moment you become a leader at work, a manager at the office, I mean, with every position comes a level of change, and it brings out a new you that you probably didn't even think was there before.
Yes.
Because now, because of the demands that this thing is placing on you, you have to be a certain way.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you were a regular associate at work before, and you have all kinds, I mean, maybe let's just hypothetically, you have 4 associates and everybody just hang around and just play around, and you know, y'all chit chat and things like that at work and things like that. And maybe you go in the cafeteria or in the lunchroom, and you guys IM or DM yourself about the manager and how he or she is not doing A, B, C, and D, and he or she is disturbing you, and he's making you do things you don't want to do. You're just talking trash about the manager, right?
Yeah.
And then the manager leaves, and one of y'all becomes the manager. Well, now you see a completely different person from who you thought was your buddy, because y'all was associated together. Now, but because of the demand of his new position or her new position,
things have to change.
Yeah. He can't sit there and have the same conversation with y'all anymore, because he is the topic of conversation, right? So things gotta change. And again, it doesn't mean that you become a completely different person and you're nasty and all kinds of stuff. No, it just means that there are sides of you that you don't even know yet, until certain things and certain levels in your life happens.
Yeah.
For example, at a 6-figure earning position right now, you cool, you all right. But the moment you start rolling into 7 figures and 8 figures now, we don't know. Are we? Which version of you are we gonna get?
Exactly.
Right? Which version of you are we going to be seeing on a daily basis? Right? Because again, with every level comes a change and a demand that is placed on every person.
Yeah.
And we have to give each other enough grace to allow that.
Yes.
To allow that, because
Yes.
how you are as a girlfriend may not be how you are as a wife.
Yes.
And if something changes about you because of that responsibility, I need to adjust and say, you know what? I'm not even upset. I get it. I understand. I mean, for example, when we were just, husband and wives, right? We had already made the change from dating boyfriend and girlfriends now to husband and wives. And I mean, that was beautiful. That was wonderful. And, things changed a little bit because the responsibilities and the expectations changed. Like, for example, I go to work, I come back home. Is there food on the table or not?
Exactly.
Again. But then you became a mom. You became a mom, not a mom, just you became a mom of 1, 2, and 3. The responsibility was completely different.
Yeah.
And that also meant that the expectation was different as well.
Yes.
That means that if you were, for example, hypothetically, I don't know how it goes in your home and your relationship, but let's say, for example, when we were dating or when we got married, not we were just husband and wives, no kids yet, right? If you wanted to, you could say, babe, I'm going home very early. I know you still got to work, but I'm going to go home right now and I'm going to make some food, right? I'm going to make your best meal because you know what? Tomorrow is Saturday and it's just us. Okay, great. So you go home, we make our best meal, we eat, we enjoy ourselves. We wake up on Saturday. Hey, you know what? I don't feel like cooking today. You want to go to our favorite restaurants and just enjoy ourselves and just stay out all day, all night? Sure, no problem. Let's do it. The moment you become parents, the responsibility changes. You wake up in the morning and you got to sort those kids out
think about those kids.
And by the time you're done, you probably don't have any energy for anything else.
I mean,
you follow what I'm saying?
Look at us having to, it's something as simple as going to the gym. You got to find where you could take the kids to. Because they come in play. You have to work around.
So what does that mean? That means that as your responsibilities change, your expectations must change as well.
Yeah.
It would be unfair of me to have the 100% performance expectation of a wife from you when you got to split yourself between a wife and a mother.
Yeah.
It would be unfair of you to have an expectation that I should perform 100% as a husband when I also got to be a father at the same time.
Absolutely.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? We're still performing at 100%. It's just per season and per time.
Yeah.
You allocate and reallocate as necessary. This is my belief.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this works for everybody. I'm not saying this is the case for everybody. I'm not saying, look, y'all can do whatever, because I know somebody who says, no. Me, I'm 100% husband, 100% father, 100% this, 100% brother, 100% son. Odogu.
Excuse me.
Odogu 1000. Listen, God bless
me.
you. Listen. There's nothing wrong with that. The Lord has given you the grace for that, and there's absolutely, you know what? I envy you. I respect you. I honor you. I bless you. Go ahead, do your thing, King. Do your thing, King. Do your thing, Queen. But what I'm saying is over here, what happens is in reality of things, right? Yeah, I can give you 50%. Maybe I can give you 50% husband and 50% father, right? Today. Tomorrow, I can give you 80% husband and 20% father, right? The next day, I can give you 80% father and 20% husband. You follow?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what is the demand of our lives right now.
Yeah.
Given the situation right now. For example, I went to Nigeria for about a week or so. I was out on an assignment. You follow what I'm saying? I still needed to be a husband. I still needed to be a father. I still needed to check on the family, check on my wife, one-on-one. You know what I mean when I say one-on-one, right? Like after you do the updates, how's everybody? How's this person? How's that person? You put this one to sleep yet? Okay, what's going on with school? We pay the bills yet? Okay, you need me to send money? You do all of that. That's not communication, by the way. That's just updates.
Check-ins.
That's just check-ins.
Yeah.
When all that is done, I then tell my wife, tell the kids to go in the living room. You go in the room. Let's talk.
Yeah.
So I can have time with you. How are you? Mele, you okay? How was your day? What did you do? Okay, did you get this done? Did you get that done? Did you talk to this person? Did you talk to that person? How you doing? Oh, how you feeling? How's your back? How's your leg? And then we just talk. And then we talk about this person and that person. What happened here and what happened there.
Yeah.
We talk. We enjoy time with one another.
Yeah.
I could have literally got on the phone and checked on everybody and said, how the kids doing? And just get off the phone.
Yeah.
And went to sleep.
Yeah.
At that moment, I'm being a great father, but a very, very shabby husband.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I did that. But I still understood that I have a responsibility, not only to the kids, but also to you.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that goes both ways, vice versa.
And that goes both ways.
Yeah. All right. And to wrap, let's just close it up with this question, right? It's not that unmet expectations or disappointments don't happen, because I feel like we've kind of voiced that a lot too, where it's like what we expected, you have to put in work, right? You don't just put in work on something that's working. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You put in work to make something better.
Yeah.
So how have we managed unmet expectations or disappointment in our marriage?
Hey. How have we managed unmet expectations or disappointments in our marriage? I will say this. Come closer. Listen, come closer and hear this.
I think you mentioned it earlier too, but
disappointments are, I wish I knew this. This was also one other thing that I wish I knew early on going into marriage that I didn't know before, but I wish I knew it, but I know now. Disappointment is not anything special. So make that reservation. Resolve that in your
it's not the end of the world
right now.
It's a thing.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. That's number one. Just accept that right now.
Yeah.
What am I saying? Disappointment is part of the journey. Disappointment is part of the journey. And matter of fact, maybe we need to find a different name for disappointment.
Yeah, because it's tainted.
Because it's tainted, right? Say, for example, I go to work. I'm tired. I'm coming back home. My wife has been home all day. She's enjoying herself. Maybe she took off work and so she's not working. The kids are in school. So really, she really have been just having a blast all day. But maybe she had too much blast. She's been watching movies all day, talking on the phone, reading a Bible, reading a book, whatever she been doing, right? I get home and I'm coming home and I'm tired. And I say, hey, babe, man, I know you've been home, with you being home and everything, you should be, something. Some.
What you have for me?
And she goes, back I'm a guy.
Excuse me?
Woo!
This is morning.
Translate.
Maybe we should drink Gary. Maybe we should drink cassava now. Maybe we should drink Gary.
So Gary is a lazy man's food.
Maybe we should eat cup noodles.
Right. Exactly. Let's
maybe
exactly.
we should eat cup noodles.
Right. The man has been out all day. He's tired. He comes home and he says, "What's for dinner?" And you're like, "Well, I ain't make nothing, but I got this cup noodles if you want. I can put that in the microwave real quick." And you know what I mean? So of course you're upset. You're angry, and most importantly, you're disappointed. But is that the end of the world? No. We talk about it, we move on, right? But how we...
No, right there. What should you say?
What happened?
Wait, what? I'm saying what you just said right now. You just said we talk about it.
Communicate.
That right there.
Yes. So we handle disappointment and unmet expectation by affording one another grace. Extra.
Oh
my
gosh. Extra
grace. Right?
Grace upon grace upon grace.
Unending grace.
With a topping of grace.
Grace, unlimited grace.
With a side of grace.
Right? And communicate.
Yeah.
and then keep communicating. I love the Bible. The Bible says faith cometh by hearing, and hearing of the word of God. Meaning it's not just one time.
Exactly.
It's a continuous thing. Keep hearing it, keep hearing it, keep hearing it until you believe. What does that mean? Stop getting upset that you're telling your spouse, I've told you this before. I done told you 5 times already. I done told you 10 times already. Tell it again. And again. And again and again. And keep affording that grace for them to get it finally. You know what I'm saying? Because again, if you don't communicate over and over again, and you don't give each other the grace over and over again, you are liable to uproot before you bear fruit. And a lot of people see this all the time. They get into a relationship, they have this bickering and arguments and this communication. I told you this before. I've told you da-da-da-da-da. You know what? You're not listening to me. You know what? You don't care. I'm done. I'm out. They leave. And then the next time you see that person, everything you told them, they're doing now. Because whoever they're with, is reaping the benefit of the work that you've been putting in. Now, let me balance it and say there are some people who are just hard at it. They don't get it until they lose what is good. And so they begin to think to themselves, oh man, if I had just done this, if I had just done that. So now they want to change for the person that they're with now. But my point is, if you're patient enough to just wait and just give enough grace, right? You will reap the fruits of your labor in marriage. And I think that's a lot of times what causes divorce. We're not willing to wait to see the fruit.
Grace.
We're not willing to give grace and keep giving grace. We're not willing to communicate and keep communicating until we see what we want to see, especially when you're seeing gradual signs of improvements. Now, it may not be exponential. It may not be a grand gesture, it may not be none of that, but at least they're trying. Maybe they do it one day, they forget the next day, and then they remember again, and then they do it again and again, and then they forget, and then they but at least I'm seeing something. I'm seeing some kind of movement. It's not like you're ignoring me and you just decided not to listen and you just don't want to do anything. That's a different conversation. At that point, there's divine intervention that needs to happen. But if you communicate and you see changes happening, then you give grace. You keep giving grace until you see the full picture of what you're looking for.
Grace is rooted in love. And what it does is it helps you maintain, or it helps you kind of clear out the avenue in which disappointments can come in, because you're lending grace and you're giving grace.
When you have grace, there's no disappointment.
There's no disappointment. You in your mind, it's like, you know what? I'm not even gonna let that dictate how I feel, because I know that you're trying to be better. Because I know the goal is for you to be better.
I know where your heart is.
So I know where your heart is. So I will extend the grace. I'm not gonna stop communicating it with you because I want to see the change. Lending grace doesn't mean you just leave it be and we just move on and forget about it and sweep it under the rug. No, grace is giving more time for change. So we need to understand that when you give grace, you back it up with communicating how you feel, so that the other consistently, so that way the other person understands that this is something that needs to change. And if you do care for me, you do love me, you do want to be better for me, you will begin to put in that work, that effort to change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, I think expectations and reality. So let me just close on this. You have the power to produce the reality you want to see in your marriage. Can I say that? You have the power to create your own reality. And there's a little bit of spiritual aspect of that. There's a little bit of psychological and all kinds of stuff aspect of that, physical aspect of that. But you can create your own reality. The question is, are you with somebody who is willing to build that reality with you? Because yes, there are expectations and then there are realities. They are the reality of things. There's a guy I sent you, I don't remember his name. He does relationship podcasts with his wife as well. They're from New York and things like that. And he was talking about their life now, being that they've blown up. I mean, they're known all over the nation. They're in movies, interviews, like the demand that is being placed on them. At the level and the stage that they're at right now is crazy. And he was crying. But he was just making the point that it's hard.
It's hard.
But then again, he understood that they asked for this. This is what they wanted. But this is what it takes.
But this is the sacrifice.
This is the sacrifice. And they were willing to make those sacrifices, right? In other words, the reality today, right? Maybe when they were working and hustling and wanting to be big and famous and everything like that, maybe they had a different expectation. But then you don't really know what the thing will be until you get there. Then you can form a reality for yourself. And say, sure, we had this expectation, but this is the reality. So what do we do now? How do we adjust now? How do we move forward now? How do we make this thing make sense now? Given the cards that we have on the table. Forget about expectation, because again, expectation speaks about something that is to come based on made up scenarios in your mind, assumptions and presumptions and things like that. But we don't really know until we get there. You follow what I'm saying?
There.
Now that we're there, that becomes our reality. But what we do with the newfound situation becomes our reality. You follow what I'm saying? So you have the power to create your own reality. What is the reality that you want to see in your marriage, in your home? You can begin to work towards it together and formulate a new reality for yourself.
And understand, life goes on. Time waits for nobody. Life goes on, and you can't just give up. You can't just give up just because it seems hard in that moment. You understand what I'm saying? When it comes to marriage, because a lot of people just give up easily. They just feel like it's gotten to that point of reality and it's hard. And they don't know how to handle it. So it's just easier to just be hands off.
It just throws them back, because again, this is not my expectation. I didn't expect this. I didn't plan for this. I didn't prepare for this. Well, guess what?
It is what it is. Now, what are you going to do? Are you just going to walk away because what? Like, you know?
That's life. That's just life. That's life. You know what I'm saying? That's life. People lose their jobs all the time. Do they expect to lose their job? No. You follow what I'm saying? Things happen. That's life. What do you do with your newfound situation? What you do with that becomes your reality. You can find us in, maybe you have an expectation, your expectations weren't met. You get upset, you break your home, you walk away. That's your reality. Somebody else can be in the same exact situation. Instead of getting upset and walking away, they figure it out. They worked it out, and they're still together today. That's their reality. Again, our choices determine our realities.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? All right, let's close it. Anything else?
No. That's good.
I hope we have shared. You know. So on next week, we're going to be talking about something to do with families and outside interferences in our homes and in our relationship.
Dealing with outside opinions, family, friends, boundaries in marriages. That's what we're going to be talking about.
You're going to be blessed. We're going to talk about it. You're going to be blessed, right? So don't miss it for anything. Share this broadcast. Come back next week and hear the next one and things like that. And let us know in the comment section if you are being blessed. Let us know in the comment section. But I hope we've shared a tip or two to help solidify your kingdom union, not only with the person of self, but also with others, and most importantly, with God on today.
Yes. Don't forget to like, share with your friends and family, comment. Let us know what you think down below, and hit that subscribe button.
And until next time, be the light.
Be the salt.
And remember, all things are possible if you believe. Ciao.
Bye.